If you go to the old cemeteries and then you go to the new ones, you're going to see a huge difference, right? My dad was talking about this. They were walking through a cemetery up in Minnesota where my great-grandpa is actually buried. And you can see a vast difference between the old cemetery and the new cemetery. The old cemetery has crosses, things like Bible passages, hymn verses, and the like. The new cemetery is pretty drab by comparison, right? And so I think, too, we've kind of lost some of these things. And even my mom told me the other day is that she didn't really think about these things until she was told that we should view this as a last confession, right? She didn't really care what her stone was going to be like. But if you view it as a last confession, that even though you're dead, you're still proclaiming what Christ has done for you, that changes everything. That changes everything of your funeral service. That changes everything of how you are to be interred. And it changes what your monument is going to be like. Okay? So that should really be the driving question for us is, what kind of a confession is this making? And is it something that I really want to confess? So yeah, you had a question?
Is cremation just burning the body, or is there more to it?
Okay, the question is cremation just burning the body, or is there more to it? What's interesting with cremation is that when they put the body into the oven, they heat it up really, really hot, and all of the skin and all of the fat and all of the muscle, all of that burns away. Okay, it all becomes heat. Okay, so the weight that you feel in the urn for the cremains is just the bones. Now, the crematorium never gets hot enough to turn the bones to ash. Okay, so what they have to do is basically take an industrial food processor and take the fragments of the bones and you laugh, but that's what they do. I mean, you guys asked. I mean, hope you guys didn't eat yet. But that's what they do, right? So, yeah, I don't know, I mean, it is great violence that's done to the body. I mean, but on the other side, too, I think violence is done to the body in embalming as well, right? Which is why I'm of the opinion that the best confession is to just bury them, right? And I hope that they look, but that's the thing, I hope I look terrible in the casket. You know, everybody always says, well, oh, they look so good. They're dead, right? Can't look that good, right? And the point is that death is an enemy, right? Death is an enemy, and it's conquered by Christ. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta wait for all the uncles and aunts to get to the funeral, so you gotta put it off 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, so there are the pragmatic considerations too. That's why I said that it's not as good, but embalming is also, I mean, Jacob was embalmed, right? Because they had to move him from, I know you were being sarcastic, but I mean, it actually is a concern, right? I mean, I'm not going to bind anybody's conscience in this way, right? I mean, there are, sometimes you can't get them buried as quick as you can. However, for like psychological reasons, I mean, having the funeral quicker, it does bring a lot of closure to it. That's another thing. Even though this is the weakest argument, the psychological issues with cremation are another thing, right? You try to explain to a little kid where Grandpa went when he's sitting in an urn. Okay? And even adults, there's some anecdotal evidence that I have that I have learned from different funeral directors where after the funeral, they followed the hearse to the crematorium because they needed that closure, right? That's the thing. If you're thinking about cremation, don't just think about yourself, right? People need that closure. People need to say goodbye. People need to process some of these things, right? And it is important. It is important to weep over your loved ones. St. Paul says that it's good to weep, right? But not to weep like those who don't have any hope, right? And so, take that into account too, that the psychological impact of cremation, there is something to be said about that, right? We're not just beings of the intellect, but we're also beings of sentiment and emotion, right? And people need to process this. Yeah.
You often hear about the celebration of life services, and that it's just for the living and not for the dead. But what you're saying sounds like you are honoring. Part of it is for the dead.
Okay, so I'm going to put this in my own words because it's easier. Okay. A lot of times people will say that funerals are for the living and not for the dead. That is false. Okay? That is false. The funerals are not just for the living, they're also for the dead. The Christian burial is for the dead. It is to recognize that they believe in Jesus. It is to thank God for the good that He did through them. And it also shows us too of their good works that follow them. Right? Because even after you're dead, guess what? Your good works still follow you. And they're still doing good in the world. You know how I can say that? Here's an example. How long have the apostles been dead? 2,000 years. Guess what? Their writings are still bringing people to faith all the time. Luther's been dead for not quite 500 years, 450 years. But guess what? His sermons are still comforting people every day. The stuff that you do in this life still has an effect, which is one of the reasons why on the podcast I talked about why there is a need for a final general judgment, right? That at the end of the day, literally, God will actually commend us for all the good works that have continued throughout our lives. The thing is, too, on the other hand, guess what? The works of evil people are still leading people astray, right? So that's the thing. Funerals are not just for the living. They're also for the dead. They're also for the dead. And that's okay, because they died in Jesus. And we should thank God for that. We should thank God for the person lying in the casket, for their example of faith, for how they served their neighbor. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Who cares if they're not? We have celebrations all the time for people who are no longer around. So,
yeah, one of the arguments you'll hear is that we're going to get a new body when we get to heaven, but yet Jesus still has his scars and chills.
Yeah. The comment was, people will say that we get a new body, and that's false, right? Just like Jesus, our body will be the same as it is here, right? Jesus didn't get a new body, but He still bore the marks of His crucifixion. And you see this in Michelangelo's Last Judgment. So if you look really closely at the apostles, you will see some very interesting things. You will see St. Bartholomew holding knives and this weird sort of shapeless mask. What is that? Anybody know how St. Bartholomew was reputed to have died? He was skinned alive. So in that, they show him carrying his own skin and the knives with which he was flayed. The same thing with John the Baptist. Oftentimes in iconography, you see him carrying his own head, right? So the thing is that what they did is they made a leap, right? A speculation that the wounds that we suffer in this life for the Christian faith are trophies in the next life. Just as Jesus' wounds are not marks of shame, but they're marks of victory. right? I don't know if that's true or not, but, it's a great idea, right? I mean, you can believe it if you want, but I think it's fascinating, right? That the things that we suffered here, we will be glorified there. And that is a wonderful comfort, especially for those who are martyred here, who died for the faith here. So, anything else? Yeah.
So our good works follow us in death. Do our bad works also follow us in death?
Okay, so the question was, our good works follow us in death? Do our bad works follow us in death? So for the Christian, for the one who believes in Jesus, our evil works are not reckoned to us on account of what Christ did, right? This is why we pray every day, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Psalm 19 says, who can discern his errors? Keep me from hidden faults and save me from presumptuous sins. Okay? Do our evil works still follow us? Do they still have an effect? They don't follow us into eternity, right? Do they still have an effect here on earth? Yes, they do. Look at Solomon, right? Solomon, because of his love, his love for his wives, which exceeded the first commandment, caused him to do some very awful things, which ended up splitting his kingdom and leading his children astray. Okay? Did he repent of that? I believe he did. I think Ecclesiastes is a firm confession from him that he repented of his sins before the end. However, our bad works actually do have an effect, right? They do. Some more than others, right? Which is why we repent of that. And why we should avoid them, right? So.
My last thought is Gnosticism, the denial or the belief that the flesh, the material, is inherently evil. Does that play into this idea that it doesn't matter what we do with the body?
Okay, so the question was, does Gnosticism play into cremation? Because Gnosticism is a denial of the body. So, to give you a little background, Gnosticism was an ancient view that infiltrated the Christian church that said that what was evil in the world, the reason why there's evil in the world is because you're made up of stuff, right? You're a spark of light who is entrapped in a prison of decaying flesh. And your whole point is to escape that prison. Okay? That's what Gnosticism taught. Okay? We see it today in modifying forms. Okay? We see it today in the talks about there being multiple genders. Okay? Where biology really has no meaning. What matters is what is in meaning. You also see it in some of the very extreme body modification stuff, where people believe that my body is the canvas and I can make whatever I want on it. Okay? I think Gnosticism actually does play a lot into cremation. I've even heard it from some of our own members. That, well, when I die, I go to heaven. And that's it. Right? Well, that's not it, though. Right? That's not it. That the soul and the body will be put back together again. Right? That we will be raised in our flesh. That this is not bad. This is not an accessory. Okay? This is not an accessory. This is me. This is me. And I'm going to get me back. And that's okay, right? It's okay to love the body. It's okay to, and not just okay, but it's really a celebration of what God has made, right? So, yeah, Gnosticism plays a big part into this. That people think that the soul is somehow more important than the body. And it's not. The soul and the body go together. You're not hole without a body. And that's why Christ came. That's why Christ died. That's why Christ rose again. So that way you'd have your body back. So, yeah.
But it costs so much more to be buried in a traditional way.
Ah.
I want to be a good steward and spend money on the mission of the church.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So the comment was, well, it costs so much more money, et cetera, right? I mean, you hear that a lot, right? That cremation is a lot more expensive and that sort of thing. Well, you know, the thing that I would recommend then is actually go and talk to your funeral director. Seatsma Vogel, like here in town, is very good. They will definitely work with you. I know for sure that at least one of them actually prefers burial to cremation. Okay? They will work with you. They want you. They want to respect your wishes. Okay? And as for the money, I mean, Abraham paid an exorbitant amount for his wife Sarah's too. You know, to make sure that it was incontestable, right? So the thing is like, and no doubt, you always have to watch yourself, right? Because sometimes you can spend money so that way you have the biggest tombstone, right? Well, that's not the point, right? The point is making a good confession. And the thing is, you know, that is a mission, right? Because people are going to be walking around that cemetery 100 years from now. They're going to see it, right? What a wonderful thing. We have another question over here. All right, well, thank you very much. So, have a good night.